Thank you, everyone. I'd like to welcome all of you to the joint special board meeting with the Civic Center Development Committee, the CCDC, and the Township Board, the February 23rd meeting. This is an electronic meeting. Note, this meeting will be held electronically as authorized under the Open Meetings Act, Public Act 267 of 1976, as amended. Members of the public body and members of the public may participate electronically as posted on our website and throughout the township at different locations. With that, I will say, Mr. Clerk, I will call the meeting to order, and I will ask you, all of us, to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, will you please do a roll call?
Supervisor Kowal.
Here.
Clerk Noble here. Treasurer Roman.
You can probably say where you are.
Oh, White Lake Township.
White Lake Township.
Here, White Lake Township.
Trustee Ruggles.
Here, White Lake Township.
Trustee Smith.
Present, White Lake Township.
Trustee Voorhees.
Present, White Lake Township.
Trustee Powell.
Here, White Lake Township.
That's unbelievable. Okay.
2 days in a row.
Yeah, I know. Amazing. Okay. And thank you, Justin, for reminding us. I'm looking for a motion to approve the agenda. Oh, excuse me. I beg your pardon. Let me back up. Sherry Barber, will you please?
It's Hannah tonight, Rick.
I beg your pardon?
It's Hannah tonight, Rick.
Hello, Hannah tonight. Hannah, will you please take roll call for the Civic Center Development Committee, please?
Sure. Mary Carlock?
Here.
JP Aarons?
Mary didn't say where she was. Sorry.
White Lake.
I don't think JP is on the call either. Jim Christopher?
Here, White Lake.
Tony Madifer?
Present, White Lake Township.
Curtis Martin? Okay. So we're missing JP, Curtis, and Debbie.
AP may join us a little bit later. He had a conflict and he didn't know what time he'd be available.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Okay. Item number 4, approval of agenda. Looking for a motion from the board for approval of the agenda.
Motion to approve agenda.
Motion from Trustee Smith to approve the agenda, support by Clerk Noble. Clerk Noble, roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Kowal.
Yes.
Clerk Noble, yes. Treasurer Roman.
Yes.
Trustee Ruggles.
Yes.
Trustee Smith.
Yes.
Trustee Voorhees.
Yes.
Trustee Powell.
Yes.
Very good. Thank you. Item number 5, public comment. At this time, if there's anyone in the public that wants to make their comment, they raise their hand, *9. Rob?
We have one caller. Last 4 numbers, the phone number are 6646. If you'd like to raise your hand, press *9 and we will call on you. That's the only caller that we have at the moment. And no hands raised.
Okay. That being said, I will close public comment, move on to new business. New business is Civic Center presentation, Gershenson Kirko. As we have done in the past, we will do this in a very timely and organized manner. I will turn this over to Howard, who is our representative from Chesapeake Group. And Howard, wherever you are on my screen, which I'm not sure, there you are. Okay. The floor is yours and you are muted for the moment.
Thanks, Rick. Okay. Here's our process for tonight, as it has been, and that is there'll be 45 minutes allocated for a presentation by the team, and the team has added 1 member since the submittal of the qualifications to us. And we'll then have 30 minutes for questions and answers, sticking to the questions and answers associated with the presentation that you hear. I probably made a a little faux pas last night with allowing it to get too much into specifics about how we might finance something. We're not at that point yet because this is still qualifications. We do, and have submitted questions about whether or not people have been involved in creative financing, public-private partnerships, et cetera. So those questions are very open and acceptable. At the end of the half an hour for the questions and answers, Bruce or whomever from their team will be given 5 minutes to wrap up, and then we will end the meeting. So I'll turn it over to Bruce at this point in time. Would everybody please mute there who is not speaking? Mute. I think we did that. Okay.
Great. Quinn, I just want to make sure that you have our slide presentation ready to go. But let me begin by saying I want to thank everyone for the opportunity to present our team this evening. For those of you who have known me for many years, having done development in White Lake Township, and those who don't, I am Bruce Gershenson. I'm president and CEO of Gershenson Realty and Investment. And we have done a substantial number of developments in the township that I think many of you are aware of. We have an exceptional team to present to you this evening that has the capability to create a community lifestyle for your Civic Center project. Just to give you a little background before each member does their presentation of the team, the Gershenson and Kurlick family have been friends for over 40 years. And out of that friendship grew a business partnership called Gershenson Kirko. And we have had that venture for a little over 20 years. And it was originally created and still is today to find and develop and create mixed use projects. I think there we go. We have also known Paul Robertson and the president of his company, Jim Clark, as well for many years, and are excited to add Robertson Brothers Homes, who specialize in single family and lifestyle housing to the team. They have over 75 years of experience in bringing high quality housing to Metro Detroit. I think it is important just to take a moment to discuss our history in White Lake. As many of you well know, Gershenson Kirko has had a 23-year public-private relationship. We've worked with township officials and staff with transparency, with trust, a mutual respect, and great accomplishment in working together in White Lake Township. We've worked hand in hand for over 14 years with Rick's predecessors to create a mutual vision for the Township Municipal Center, Service Center, and community-oriented development a reality. This began with our Village Lakes project, which we'll talk about in a moment. We are all based locally. We've taken great pride in the quality, in the maintenance, and redevelopment of our projects. And due to the fact that we have been in White Lake for those 23 years and have a long history of involvement, we have a unique and complete understanding of the demands and needs of the White Lake marketplace. The next slide, please, Quinn. In 2007, we created the Village Lake Shopping Center and infrastructure. When we were in the planning stages of that development, we had extensive discussions with planning, with the township board, with the supervisor at the time, to discuss the fact that at one day in the future, there was a vision that there would be a municipal complex either on our excess land or in the immediate vicinity. It was with that in mind that we began to build the infrastructure, not only for our center and the adjoining center, but the road network, town center, boulevard, and utility infrastructure to one day accomplish that vision. We were also the implementer and redeveloper of the former Kmart into 126,000 square foot Super Kroger in 2015, and the former Kroger store into the Hobby Lobby and Ulta Cosmetics store in 2017. Our involvement in White Lake began in 1998 with the development of the White Lake Marketplace Center, a little over 360,000 square feet. We followed that with the Village Lake Center and Town Center Boulevard and infrastructure in 2007, the Walmart expansion at White Lake Marketplace in 2009, the redevelopment of the Farmer Jack supermarket into Joann and Bed Bath & Beyond in 2011, the redevelopment of the former Kmart, as I have said, in 2015, the former Kroger store that abutted the Kmart into a Hobby Lobby and Ulta Cosmetics in 2017. And in the near future, we will be discussing with the township a redevelopment coming to the White Lake Marketplace Center in 2021. We've been involved in community activities with White Lake Township, such as supporting Quake on the Lake. We've had the Christmas tree lighting and holiday activities at both of our shopping centers. And we have been a major stakeholder investor in the township for over 23 years, having invested over $30 million. And we have weathered the most challenging economic times since the Great Depression, in the recession of 2008 and 2009, and certainly this horrendous pandemic this last year. As I said, we are located locally, all three companies, and we have the capability to carry out this project and the ability to carry out this project. So at this point, I would like to introduce my close friends and business partners, Matt and Quinn Kurlick, to tell you a little more about Kirko, and then they will introduce Jim Clark to tell you about Robertson Brothers.
Bruce, thank you very much. Appreciate it. And thank you to all the board members for providing us this time this evening. So I'll give you a quick bit of background on our organization, the Kirko part of the GK. And again, my name is Matt Kurlick, and with my brother, we're both principals of the organization, and I happen to act as the company's president. So Kirko has been a Michigan-based diverse real estate investment and development organization based here in the Detroit area for nearly 50 years. And we continue to be privately owned and will be for as long as we're around. Over that period of time, we've been involved in the development of millions of square feet of real estate, and that real estate activity has comprised a broad array of property types, including retail, office, industrial, research, laboratories, medical, and a wide array of medical uses, and most recently in the last several years, senior living, which would include independent living, assisted living, and memory care in campus-style communities, which you'll see some examples of. One of the things that, amongst many, that make us unique as a real estate organization is that we are vertically organized in that we have a variety of capabilities all under one roof. We are developers, we are builders of our projects, we have our own construction company, which is called Kirko-Mannix. We also manage all of our real estate and handle all the leasing, property and asset management. And lastly, we're responsible, of course, for financing our projects. And I would point out that as an investor in real estate, and as Bruce had indicated, we are long-term investors. And that's not always the case and not always the strategy with every real estate organization. But for us, it is. We believe that real estate is a marathon, not a sprint. And of the properties, most of the properties that we own, we have owned for many, many years. And because of that, we have a unique culture and organization, which we call ownership mentality. And really simply put, we understand what it's like to invest capital, risk capital, own and operate property for a long period of time. And we understand what it means when you don't approach the projects the right way in the beginning and you don't plan properly, you don't build them properly, and so on and so forth. And we also know, most importantly, how important it is to not only take care of the physical assets, but really to focus on the community and the tenants and occupants within these buildings, because these places that we create really at the end of the day are worth nothing if they're not filled with people. And that's really what I think we're here today to talk about, is how can we create a place that is an asset to the community and an attraction for the community, and really adds to the quality of life for all those that touch what we create. The other thing is that, this is a long process. Any project that we get involved in is going to take years to design, to build, and then ultimately manage and maintain. And our relationship together will span many, many years. So we're big believers in the fact that you have to enjoy the journey. You have to enjoy the people you're working with, and it needs to be fun and positive. And as such, we've been fortunate enough to have wonderful clients, customers, partners, vendors, and suppliers over our history, and have maintained many, many, many ongoing relationships, as evidenced by our partnership with the Gershenson family for these many years. And I would also add that, we are uniquely positioned to work to deliver on a vision because of our single point of accountability and our vertical platform. So with that, I'll transition to point out some examples of some projects that might be relevant and provide some insight into the things that we've been involved in. And this particular project here, Columbia Center, is interesting in many ways, but not the least of which, the development is an office complex comprising about 600,000 square feet in two high-rise office towers, corporate headquarters, two corporate headquarters, one of which is a single story, and another facility which is 4 stories, all on a corporate campus in Troy, Michigan, off of Big Beaver and I-75. We've been involved in this project for well over 30 years. We were the original developer. We have continued to own and operate this project for that entire period of time, and have constantly been reinvesting in this asset over the years, which is really necessary with any property. We've incorporated a number of mixed uses into the project, including restaurants, outdoor plazas, music, entertainment venues, indoor restaurants, and a variety of other amenities, fitness options, and so on. And this project has really become one of the major community centers in Troy. And one of the things we've been fortunate enough to create with Troy as a partner is the Troy Traffic Jam, which has turned out to be the largest car show that occurs annually in the city of Troy, where we regularly host 300 plus or minus cars at our property during that particular event. So it's a good example of what we mean when you really succeed in creating an asset for not only those that are invested in the project, but the entire community and everyone that touches it. We've also been involved in a number of other community-oriented projects. This first one here is the Springfield Township Civic Center and Library, where we were involved in the design and then ultimately construction of this project for Springfield Township. And then the other example on this next slide, which is the Romulus Department of Public Works, where we also developed and built that project for them. We've also been involved in the city of Auburn Hills, where we developed and built their senior center. They call it their community center. It's really a senior recreation facility and some other ancillary components. We also did a police and fire station for Auburn Hills. And it's interesting because our relationship with Auburn Hills really didn't begin with this project. It began with other projects, other commercial projects that we had built and developed in their community. And out of that relationship, we were fortunate enough to have the opportunity to work with them on their community-centric developments. And in addition to that, we've also been involved in a number of other, what I would characterize as community-based organizations. This particular example here is Divine Child. They're a parochial educational school here in Metro Detroit. And we've been involved in a number of different projects with them. This that you see here on this screen is their athletic center, football field, and so on, where we were involved in the complete redevelopment and construction of that facility, as well as their performing arts center, which you can see in this next slide, and a variety of classrooms and other amenities and renovations and expansions that occurred on their campus. Some other examples of community-based development projects, construction projects, here is Kalamazoo's College Athletic Complex, where we were responsible for the construction of an entirely new athletic center for Kalamazoo College. Not only did it include the football stadium, locker rooms, alumni center, etc., but also involved as well the baseball field and some other ancillary athletic facilities. So moving on from these projects, we thought it might be valuable to demonstrate some of the senior living projects that we have been developing recently. This particular project is in Clarkston, Michigan. It's an independent living, assisted living, and memory care complex comprising of about 165 units. And it's developed, as you can see, in one combined campus style setting. It's highly amenitized and really incorporates a wide array of amenities and activities, including everything from pickleball courts to a variety of dining venues, movie theaters, the list goes on. This other example is a project that we just recently opened, which is also a senior living facility in Birmingham, Alabama, called the Bluffs of Greystone. It's an independent living, assisted living, memory care facility, and similarly contains a wide array of amenities to engage not only the residents that live here, but also the community. We invite the community to come and utilize the different amenities of this project, including outdoor dining venues, picnic areas, playgrounds, pickleball courts, the pool. We have community meeting rooms. And I think what's important to point out here is very deliberately, we try to create uses that promote the engagement of the community, because not only is it a great asset for the community, but in engaging the residents in these facilities, it really enhances their quality of life and provides a much more enriched experience for them and their families that are so concerned about their well-being when they move into a facility like this. And from there, we'll move on to this next example, which is a recent project in your vicinity, Waterford, Michigan, which is an example of a healthcare project that we recently did. And this was a redevelopment of a former retail center, which we converted into a comprehensive medical center that includes primary care, urgent care, women's health, and a few other uses. This is a Trinity Health System facility, which we developed and built and ultimately operate to this day. So that gives you some examples of some of the different types of things that we've been involved in. And at this point, I'm going to turn it over to my brother Quinn, who will walk you through some of our more recent, what we call corporate projects that really touch on the sort of office, industrial, and research elements of the product types that we've been involved in.
Thanks, Matt. Again, just to introduce, my name is Quinn Kurlick. I'm Executive Vice President of Corporate Real Estate and Chief Marketing Officer at Kirko. And I wanted to walk you through some of our recent and most significant corporate projects. And the reason for doing so is quite intentional, because just like White Lake Township is preparing to do, our corporate clients through these projects are making profound investments in their people and to attract, serve, and retain the greatest talent, or in White Lake's case, attract residents and serve the community. And it's through our relentless attention to detail throughout the design process that we want to make sure these facilities or our projects appeal to our community's senses. And those senses include just their daily experiences beyond just their work function or in terms of amenities, and also the social impact of our projects, and in doing so through sustainable design. This first project is Vodka Chemicals North American Headquarters and Innovation Center. Sorry, my thing is jumping ahead. And this facility is in Pittsfield Township, Michigan. It's about 140,000 square feet, and it's comprised of about 120,000 square feet of office, headquarters, and collaboration spaces, and also about 20,000 square feet of lab and R&D. And as you can see in a lot of these pictures, we focused heavily in the design on creating unique opportunities for collaboration beyond just the traditional conference rooms, encouraging interaction and working together in a variety of ways, such as the cafeteria being rich with technology so that they can use it beyond just having lunch. They can go and have more casual meetings, or the atrium that you can see that has an entire wall of glass and these unique stepped collaboration meeting spaces. Now I'm there we go. In terms of Vodka's design, it's also going to be LEED certified, and we are, it's going to be obviously locally sourced materials and labor. All the materials from construction debris will be recycled, and it's also going to include solar powered carports for charging electric vehicles. We also included a lot of outdoor landscaping features that promote outdoor collaboration when the weather is a little warmer than it is today. This next project is Mercedes-Benz Financial's North American headquarters, and this is in Farmington Hills, Michigan. This is currently under construction. This is about 200,000 square feet and will serve 800 employees. And this facility is also LEED certified, local labor, materials, and recycled materials. Some other, from a stormwater management standpoint and the design, sustainable design, we've created detention ponds that instead of just being bodies of water, we've added fountains and outdoor seating to create an outdoor environment for the employees to work effectively. And it's turned into a nice asset for the project and the employees. Lots of areas for collaboration and community, both inside and out. You can see this outdoor courtyard where we have outdoor seating, all of this to promote the sense of community in our environments. Additional amenities in that facility are fitness center, aerobics, locker rooms and showers, game room, and unique pantry collaboration, which are meeting rooms which have immediate access to food and snacks. The next project is Dow Chemicals World Headquarters in Midland, Michigan. This facility is about 220,000 square feet, and it serves about 600 employees. This project, from a sustainable design standpoint, this actually obtained LEED Silver certification. And some unique aspects of it. You can see the water feature that envelops about a third of the building. That is a detention for stormwater, but we turned it into this defining characteristic of the facility. And it also includes about 28,000 square feet of vegetative green roof that absorbs a lot of the stormwater runoff and improves the environmental impact of the facility. And we also engaged a world-class landscape architect, to produce a 20-acre landscape design that utilized vegetation that is low maintenance and requires mowing probably quarterly, but still provides a prominence of a world headquarters. A lot of collaboration areas in this facility included a town hall, a media wall in the lobby that featured a lot of the Dow's technology and products, and a lobby cafe coffee shop where employees can utilize it for collaboration and meetings. And also the cafeteria is set up for day-long utilization. In terms of this is just some of a list of our clients and communities that we've served, as we mentioned, obviously Midland and White Lake Township and Auburn Hills, but we've worked with Rochester Hills for 15 years. We're heavily vested in Troy, obviously, and this is just an example of the many communities in which we work and the clients with whom we've worked. And what's important is our commitment to your vision. And we've provided some ideas simply for just inspiration and concept. This is a snapshot of the back lot, which is in Petoskey, and it's a very unique utilization of an otherwise just open parking lot in downtown Petoskey that they've turned into this vibrant environment with these gourmet food trucks, live music, and it's become a really great asset to the community and very, very popular. And just some other ideas of amenities and things that we envision in bringing the community together in White Lake's vision. And what's important about showing these is that projects like these begin with a vision, and it begins with listening to you and the community and what's desired and what is the perfect outcome that you see. And that's really where it all begins. And so with that, I'd like to hand things over to Jim Clark, president of Robinson Brothers Homes, and a brand that's been a part of Metro Detroit for 75 years and our proud partner on the residential component.
Great. Thank you, Bruce and Matt and Quinn. And we're delighted to be added to this, we think, world-class team of developers in Southeast Michigan. They're some of the best developers we know. And no mixed-use project is complete without the people. And so what we specialize in is bringing the people and keeping them in the community. So from a qualification standpoint, Robertson Brothers, maybe the next slide. Robertson Brothers has been in business for over 75 years. Our team of people received a 95% satisfaction from all the customers we built for last year, which were 150 customers. They said that they would recommend us to a relative or friend after building a house with Robertson Brothers, which I think is important for a community, that the residential component of this project is not going to annoy all the people they build for and leave you with unhappy homeowners. So Robertson has a strong track record of private and public partnerships, and I'll get into that in the next slide if I could. In our history, we've built over 7,000 homes, developed in over 100 communities, and currently we are in 10 different communities building different types of homes, and we're in the approval process in 8 other communities. So we're building housing from the low 200s to over $1 million. I think the thing that might be interesting in that for White Lake is we know and understand a variety of housing types, and we feel that the townhouses we're going to show you would be a wonderful addition to the White Lake Township Civic Center and would make it a 24-hour community where people would both live, play, and recreate and sleep. So, without belaboring it too much, our experience includes ventures and purchases with school districts, townships, and nonprofit entities. So we've done business with Huron Valley Schools, Bloomfield Hills Schools, Ferndale Schools, bought properties from Royal Oak, Canton, Wixom, and partnered with Franklin Wright Settlements, a 501c3 on a development in Orion, and just purchased or just completed a purchase agreement with the Archdiocese of Detroit. So we know and understand public-private partnerships and how to work with communities to come to their unique vision. I think Quinn touched on that. Residential, I didn't think was a bad news business, but every time we go into a community, we have to go through an engagement process with the neighbors because we're destroying somebody's backyard. So we're very familiar with working with neighbors and working with cities and working with communities to get both the elevations right and the community amenities right and the relationships between what we're building and what currently exists. So I think after 75 years, we've got most of that right. I hate it when I learn new things, but because it means you made a mistake. Touching back again on that 75% willingness to refer, it's something we're real proud of. It takes a dedicated team and working. This is from the minute we sell you a house all the way through our warranty process, at a year and a half later and on through the 10-year warranty process. So that's something we're very proud of. We had one more slide, I think, on financial capabilities. I think the only thing I wanted to say on financial capabilities is, you obviously have two major developers. Robertson Brothers is, in the top 5 residential developers in Southeast Michigan on an annual basis. And as I said, we're currently building in 10 communities and in the approval process in 8 more. So we do understand that what I'm going to show you are images from projects we're currently building. These are not necessarily proposed for your township, but I always have to show you what we've already got approved somewhere else. I'm not trying to sell you on any of these images other than to say, look, we have a wide variety of styles that we can adopt for the product type that we feel the lifestyle housing we think would be very critical to this mixed use development. So on the lower right-hand side is the project we finished down at Tiger Stadium called Towns at the Corner. The top slide across the top is a project we haven't just received approvals for at 3700 Trumbull Avenue on the old Scripps Mansion in downtown Detroit. And the one slide on the left is an apartment community in West Bloomfield where we're using 3 different color schemes and a hardy plank exterior for 120 apartments if we garner approval. You can go to the next slide. Once again, just talking through these, the upper left-hand slide is a proposed development in Novi. It's a piece of property being bought from the city of Novi for an Asian-themed village called Sakura Novi. Those would be the 134 apartments. Once again, the townhouse style of development. So we're showing a lot of examples of townhouses. As I started off by saying, we're building from the 200,000s to the $1 million range. So we do lifestyle housing for the last house before the home or detached condos, and what we see is the new entrance level for single family buyers, which are townhouse condominiums, which we think are terribly appropriate for this site. So we can go to the next slide. More shameless self-promotion. The image on the bottom is, once again, that's 3700 Trumbull. That's the old Scripps Mansion powerhouse that you see in the middle of the development. We're preserving the powerhouse and building new townhouses around it. Believe it or not, the Historic District Commission thought that those elevations were historic. So go figure. I think they're very modern, but that's what they wanted. Next slide. So the product that we would propose and we think would be very complementary to hopefully what we think the vision is, but we'd walk through that, is a one-car townhouse product which has 2 bedrooms, 2 baths. It's approximately 1,300 square feet. It's you live vertically, so every unit is separate by a 2-hour fire-rated wall, and everyone has a private entrance and a private garage. A second product type like that, which would be a 2-car townhouse, which is a little larger, can build as either a 3-bedroom or a 2-bedroom. Really appeals to the young singles, young professionals, in many cases divorcees who want to stay in the community. And in other communities, these other 10 communities, has been the first level of entrance into housing. It's very difficult to do single family housing on lots today with the cost structure. We can keep going. So just some examples. These are site plans. The one on your left is Parkdale Towns in Ferndale. That was a piece of property we bought from the Ferndale School District. Connolly Square is a current project in downtown Brighton. It's walking distance to the restaurants. We bought a little piece in downtown Auburn Hills and just completed 14 units right next to their new park in their band shell. Integrating with the community and the pathways and right on the river. We can keep going through these. I know we're approaching our time limit here. On the top is a piece of property we bought from the city of Royal Oak. It was a response to an RFP and an RFQ. And we built townhouses and single family homes at the corner of Normandy and Delmere, 120 units in that location. On the right is a community we're just opening up in downtown Detroit, right off the DeQuinder Cut on St. Alban and Lafayette, 54 townhouses with rooftop decks. The one in the top left corner is interesting because that's where Kirk Gibson hit his home run over the wall there at Tiger Stadium. So these townhouses surround the outfield in Tiger Stadium that you'll see if you go down to the corner of Michigan and Trumbull. And then two other projects. The ones on the right, which are Encore Towns, is a partnership deal that we did with the city of Wixom, where we bought land from the city of Wixom, and we hired a site planner, and they hired a site planner, and we took about a year and a half to arrive at what the overall project would be. It went through the Great Recession. We kept the project alive. We actually repurchased the project, and we're finishing the last phase of it 10 years later. So we're dogged. And it's a very successful project now. It just took a recession to get to the end of it. Next slide. I feel like I'm droning on here. Just some more examples of communities we're working on. The one on the lower right-hand side is that Sakura Novi development, which has a retail component right along Grand River, which is what you see on the south side, and then apartments up along 11 Mile. And then what we think is a very innovative project in Pittsfield Township, where we would swap land with the township for parkland, and we would integrate it into our development. Once again, townhouses and single family.
Jim, you have 10 minutes for the full presentation left.
Oh, okay. Well, that I'm going to turn it over to Dennis, and I guess what we think we're very good at is
that's okay.
Okay.
I know you think often and kindly of my brother, Jim, having built the house for him.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, listen, okay. we got paid by Dennis, so that's an honest mistake, and I apologize.
Well, that's a good reason to remember. But first of all, again, we want to thank you for the time. We believe that we have truly brought together, as Jim has already said, a world-class team to really carry out the vision in White Lake. We're flexible, we're committed, we have all the elements for the quality and care and community involvement that you could wish for. I think we bring in the ability and vision for all aspects. As we have for 23 years, this team is committed to work with the township in really creating the vision that you have, along with the vision that we have already created in the township over many, many years. So thank you for listening to our presentation. We're open for any questions you may have.
Can we move back to the full screen?
And we hope that we will be chosen.
Thank you. Okay, as I did last night, I'm going to start with some questions for you, Bruce, and you can direct it to whomever you want on your team.
Sure.
Obviously, your interest in White Lake is well known, well established, given your investments. I'm curious as to what was intriguing about this project versus something else that you might have an interest in, another proposal in White Lake, et cetera.
Well, let me just say this. First of all, obviously, we have been committed to the concept of having your Civic Center project since 2007, as I said, when we originally discussed the design of Village Lake Shopping Center, Town Center Boulevard, and the infrastructure. And we have had those discussions going on for 14 years and are excited that we could possibly be chosen to finally make this a reality. As far as other opportunities in White Lake, as I have discussed with the supervisor, Rick Kowal, and my partners, we are committed to not only be involved in this, we would look forward to an opportunity to acquire the existing Township Hall property on Porter Road and M59. at such time as that becomes available, and the fire department property on N59 as well. So our commitment to White Lake has never faltered. It's, as I said, it's been over 23 years. And this is an area that we believe in strongly and have for a long time, and look forward to being, a part of this community for a long time to come.
Bruce, what do you see as being the most difficult part of this project versus anything else?
Well, I think there's a couple of things. I'm going to let Matt in a moment discuss some of the difficulties in today's time given COVID and the general nature of White Lake as far as demographics, density go at this time for office. For commercial, obviously, we know the commercial very, very well. We believe that the type of commercial that should be in the Civic Center project would be something that is ancillary and works along well with the office space that will be there, the amenities, including such things as the senior center and a community center that will provide anything from food service to if there's a skating rink incorporated into it in the winter, or there is snowshoeing, or there is cross-country skiing, getting the purveyors of those things involved with the township on a commercial basis. Obviously, the needs of the township employees and officials and the fire department and police department, and their daily needs that can be met by commercial. But Matt, why don't you touch on the, really the demands of office and the difficulties today given COVID, et cetera.
Matt, when you address that, can you also talk a little bit about, there's a dramatic change that has occurred in the office market actually before COVID, but it's only been hastened by COVID, and that is working from home. How that you feel impacts our particular development, opening up opportunities or whatever.
Sure. Yeah. So to answer your first question, just generally, what do we see as the biggest challenge? I would say density of people, right? So as I said before, real estate is only successful because of people and people that use it. So, obviously the more people you have, the higher density of the population, that often is a very strong supporter for a project. And it's no secret, obviously, White Lake Township is not a very dense place in terms of population. But outside of that, it's got fantastic incomes, and all the other aspects of the demographics of the township are phenomenal, not to mention the geography. So in any event, the density will be a challenge in that we may not find ourselves with the demand out of the gate to do everything we want to do right away. Things may take time to evolve, that we may decide to phase certain elements of the project and so on. So with respect to office, even in the best of times, we would not imagine that there would be a large demand for office in this particular location. We would look at it more as a boutique office demand, and mixing that with medical or healthcare related office type uses that would be complementary to create more demand in that particular space. As it relates to COVID and its impact on that demand, there's a lot of debate out there about what's happened with and how remote work will affect office demand. I personally believe that it is going to be short-lived. I think that we will go through a period of 2, maybe 3 years where demand is materially reduced because organizations believe that now they can have a large percentage of their workforce working remotely. And they'll find that to be acceptable for a period of time. But I think over time, most organizations will learn that that's probably a mistake, and that they will find that they're losing culture, they're losing team. The analogy I use is, in sports, if you can envision the New England Patriots asking their team to train on an individual basis and then come together to play a game, it wouldn't work so well, right? So I believe that sooner or later, the majority will return back to more of a collaborative environment. There'll be some percentage that it will make sense to work remotely. There'll be more flexibility with work, but I think there will still be a place where organizations will want to gather their people to collaborate and build culture. So in the end, I think there will be a demand and a need there. And we've seen it with some of our customers. I'll give you an example. Aetna Insurance, years ago, we have a large project in Columbus, Ohio, that they occupy a headquarters facility for them, about 260,000 feet. They made a decision to move a third of their workforce to the home. That lasted about 2.5 years, and then their CEO issued a mandate that everyone had 6 months to return back to the office. So it's human nature, I think, to overreact sometimes, and we may see that for a couple of years, but eventually I think it'll come back and we'll find that there is some demand for office.
Several times throughout the presentation, and I don't really care who answers, all of you mentioned the fact that, the development would be developed around our vision, for the project. Yet when you talked about housing, you seem to have limited us to two types of housing, both of them townhouse design that were slight modifications and different from the other. Do you feel that we're limited to that, or are you willing to look at anything you've built in place of?
Yeah, so I'll jump in on that. I think, the sky's the limit, really. And when we say it really begins with a vision, we truly mean that. Every one of the projects that Quinn talked about as an example, even Dow Chemicals headquarters, they had a concept. That project began literally with a visioning session that lasted for days to paint a picture of what everyone hoped the outcome would be. And so that really shapes the design and ultimately the project. With respect to the residential, we aren't fully, we don't have our arms around fully what's possible in terms of land availability and flexibility with respect to the site plan and so on, to understand what we might be able to do with residential. As we work together to better understand that canvas, if you will, I think we'll be able to investigate other possible scenarios. There may be a transition from some lower density to medium to higher density housing. There's a lot of different possibilities.
Yeah, and one thing I'd like to add to that, Howard, in fairness to the reason that we sort of had the presentation, and when I talked to Jim, having looked at the initial thoughts that the township had both in the DLZ study and in the Redstone study, the alignment of the residential, and everything that Matt said is true. It's something that happens over time as we meet, but the land area availability that was indicated as part of the overall concept plan or block plan lent itself to the concept that Jim was talking about. But as Jim has already said, and he can jump in, they are capable of multiple different types of housing types and price points, depending upon how the vision eventually evolves.
Okay. Lastly, from my perspective, so that's not fixed in stone. And Bruce, you just mentioned something else. We have a limited amount of land that's developable on the specific site that we own at this point in time. Yet, as you're probably aware, nearby, surrounding, adjacent to, et cetera, there is substantial other land that is not developed. Would you potentially have an interest in, so that we could build greater density, et cetera, in acquiring that, even though it's not owned by the public sector at this point in time?
I think that I think we're certainly open to expanding the concept. As the vision begins to get a little clearer, and we see what the availability of the land is, the topography, as Matt has alluded to before, the demand and timing of each phase of the project as we go along. So, I mean, obviously we're committed to White Lake and, to expanding our presence and our potential for future projects. And I thoroughly believe, in addition to what Matt said, that as this project takes shape, it will create an excitement that will, I believe, hopefully hasten the timeline for our ability for those phases that, may not seem initially in demand, as they will be, this is going to be a terrific project for White Lake. And as I said, one we're excited about, one we're already invested in. And, I think that, yes, we would be open to additional land and the ability, given topography, cost, et cetera, if it economically makes sense and the demand is there, certainly to add on to the project.
Okay, now that was my last question. I'll be glad to open it up to anybody else that would like to ask something. Somebody want to raise their hand? Somebody want to start?
Yeah, so anybody who wants to, there we go. Mr. Roman.
Unmute.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, now we can.
Jim, Bruce, Matt, and Quinn. I'm the township treasurer. I just wanted to say I thought your presentation was terrific. Thanks, guys, for putting it together. It was relevant. You guys sold yourselves well. I loved your analysis of commercial use and what's relevant in today's market. I'll have a whole lot more questions, guys, financially related, but I just wanted to thank you guys for coming to White Lake.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else at this time? I see Jim Clark had his hand up.
I just want to touch back on Howard's comments. When we started in Wixom 10 years ago, we started with a townhouse project in proximity to a new downtown that we built. That was the product type that worked at the time, and it's a higher density product, which is not typical for White Lake, but does get to the affordability component of getting started. That project is now finishing out with $500,000 single family homes. So I think as both Matt and Bruce have talked about, the world is possible. What we're looking to do is create a place and a there, which people want to be at. You've got the recreational facilities, and I think it's going to be highly desirable as this thing comes to fruition. So we gave you what's a high density product type for the limited amount of land that the township had, which we think is appropriate in that immediate vicinity to what the commercial uses are. But certainly as it expands out, we think the world's open.
Hey, Scott and then Mike Pound.
Yeah, thanks. I just wanted to comment. I think this was the type of presentation I was looking forward to. Each one of you gentlemen were very well spoken and very relatable to our community, which your experience shows why. So I'm very appreciative, and I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I hopefully will be speaking to you again.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Very much.
Mike?
Yes, thank you. And first of all, I want to just state how thankful we are for the Gershenson and the Kirko families to participate in White Lake Township. I personally have been very impressed in how well you've managed the properties in White Lake, and even through the hard times, you've kept the stores full. There were some hard times there, but thank you from the bottom of our hearts for being part of White Lake and doing such a great job. I also want to compliment you. I think adding Robertson Brothers to the team was a home run. That was probably a major issue that I had in the initial analysis of your team. And I think that was a great add. And I wanted to thank you for that. Many of the questions that I had, you guys have already answered. I do have one that quite frankly jumps out at me. you guys may know that I'm a civil engineer by profession, and so it won't surprise you that I'm going to ask you this. But I did take note that the Mercedes-Benz project in Farmington and the Dow Center project in Midland, you creatively dealt with the stormwater issues, and that's going to need to be done very intently here in this particular project. And I didn't know if you were able to, and you were interested in modifying the retention basin that currently takes up a great deal of property in what we're now calling our downtown. And somehow that is going to need to be reworked so that we can incorporate that property in our downtown in either a people space or a building space. And I didn't know what you might think about that.
Well, let me answer that because, you know, I know that this has been brought up a few times. Obviously, with the advent of the municipal project, it changes the character of the area. And it's certainly something that, you know, we would be keeping in mind. There are other stakeholders that have a say in, you know, what happens. It is not just strictly Gershenson and Kirko. It obviously involves, you know, the Kroger company and Trinity Health and the assisted living people, et cetera. But we certainly would work towards a beneficial vision for everything to, you know, continue to make this town center the way it ought to be.
I would add to what Bruce said and what Quinn had talked about before. You know, the old days of a detention pond with a cyclone fence around it are gone. You know, our attitude is everything we do, we have to do with the mindset of how do we make it an asset for the community and how do we leverage it. And I think as Quinn described, you saw how we did that in some other projects. That's not to say that's the best solution, but the point is that we work together to find a way to maximize the stormwater management in a way where it can become an asset, hopefully, rather than just simply a liability.
Thank you very, very much. And great presentation, guys. Really appreciate you.
Thank you very much.
Anyone else at this time? I can't see everybody. Let's go over to the next screen. No.
Liz, anything?
Thank you, Howard. You always do a wonderful job on touching base on my questions. So I appreciate that. You asked my questions for me every night. So thank you. Wonderful presentation. It was very impressive and professional. And I appreciate your time that you've put into preparing for such a wonderful presentation for our board. I took a lot of notes. I really do appreciate Gershenson's dedication and commitment to our community. I can attest to on the community side that they have been great supporters and partners to us here. So I was actually very interested in meeting your fellow colleagues that joined us this evening and hearing their ideas, because we're all very familiar with Gershenson. I really liked the back parking lot in Petoskey. That was really intriguing to me. I'm looking for uniqueness in this project, so that certainly piqued my interest. And very well done. Thank you so much for your time this evening.
Well, thank you very much for your kind words.
Yes.
Okay. Howard, anything else?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Down in the corner.
I think he's calling on Mary.
I am. Mary?
On my screen, I'm right on top, so I wasn't sure.
Okay.
So I'm familiar with the company and their various parts around Southeast Michigan, having practiced here my whole life. Everything, I was very impressed with all the lead buildings, all the different projects. It looks, you know, of course, with the Gershenson known for shopping centers, and Kirko with the office developments, and Robinson Brothers, of course, housing. And a lot of the sites that you saw were all single-use sites. And what kind of ideas, like how do we get the right mix of all those uses for our site?
Well, you know, there's the answer to your question is really one that will evolve over time in our interaction between our group and the township. But as you can see in various projects that we've done, and that not only in White Lake, but elsewhere, whether it's, outdoor dining facilities that, we've tried to incorporate in Village Lakes, and Matt has done in many of the office communities, as well as the campus types of things that Jim does in housing, and the ability to really have a community or a campus that's walkable, that's easy to get around, that feels part of a community with really good open space, sculpture in it, great landscaping. You have a very unique capability to take advantage of the lake facility that you abut. You have the metro parks. At one time, there was a discussion of being able to take this campus and somehow, although I have not seen the details, have hiking trails and so on that would connect to many of the metro parks, which, could lead to things in the winter. But, we see a variety of capability to involve the community in this. If, for example, if as part of the actual municipal building, if you, have a good sized open space as well as a kitchen, you could have, cooking classes. You can have educational classes on health, like, COVID or whatever the new health thing may be going on. We have Home Depot in our shopping center, and, we could go to them and ask them for opportunities for their people to come and speak on how to do various projects in your home or in, outdoors in the community, etc. So, we believe that this truly is a real opportunity for the public and the private, not only working and living together, but a whole lifestyle that, White Lake already has this tremendous outdoor capability and facilities, whether it's skiing or it's the metro parks. You have more hockey teams, I think, between White Lake and Waterford than almost any area in the Detroit metropolitan area. So there's just tremendous synergies to be called upon. And we look forward to that communication of our group and White Lake Township officials and the public at large to really put in the type of facilities that everybody really would like to see here.
Thank you.
Andrea, anything?
No, you guys know how I am. I'm pretty brutally honest. I really had no idea who was presenting tonight. So when I heard it was Gershus and Kirko, my first thoughts were game over. That's how I felt. Game over. I will say this. I love your history. As someone that's been in White Lake forever, I love the history of your community involvement. And totally off topic, someone that's involved with the Historical Society, I will remember you guys come September for a donation. So, but thank you. No, seriously, I will. That's how I am. But yeah, no, very nice presentation, gentlemen.
Thank you very much. Andrea, just to talk about the Historical Society, I mentioned the Troy Traffic Jam car show that we do at Columbia Center. That's actually done in conjunction with Troy's Historical Society.
Okay.
So they're our partner in that event every year.
Yeah, we're an older historical society, and I will totally drop it, but that in our future that could happen. But thank you, Matt.
Debbie, you were on the other screen, so I didn't see you there.
Well, unfortunately, I missed the presentation.
You got your shot, right?
I did.
How do you feel?
Yeah.
Feel fine right now.
Wait till tomorrow.
They had an extra dose, and they called me at 6 o'clock or 2 minutes to 6 and said, "Come now."
Good people.
But I will definitely, Sean said it will be up on the YouTube channel, and I will definitely review the entire presentation. Tomorrow, it sounds like there's a lot of excitement from the presentation. It sounds like something I really can't wait to watch. And thank you again for everything you do for the community.
Oh, you're very welcome. And, we love being part of the White Lake community.
This is a very exciting project.
It is.
Howard?
Doesn't seem to be anybody else, Rick.
I have one more, maybe, Howard.
Okay, go for it, Mike.
Mike, I would have been disappointed if you did.
Absolutely. The township has wisely been saving some funds. So we have cash on hand to initiate the township's part of this particular project and do partnership with whomever is selected. If the township board did not want to go out and bond the township hall or the municipal buildings, what ideas might you folks have on providing a new township hall and maybe a public safety building that we can utilize and spread those costs out over years?
Sure.
Let me just say, I'm going to turn it over to Matt. This is something that we've all discussed and he's familiar with, from a high level concept.
Yeah, our organization is set up in a way that we are very accustomed to providing, in many cases, 100% of the capital necessary for a project, including from the very, very beginning, concept design, investigation, costs, et cetera, all the way through completion, and structuring it in a variety of different ways, synthetic leases, long-term leases with a variety of different functions and features. In many ways, the sky's the limit. And again, it's similar to the development that we talked about before. It all begins with a vision. What's sort of the vision for the community, capital preservation, long-term control, et cetera, et cetera. And these visions then can begin to shape the capital strategy for the project. But we're very accustomed to it. We often provide all of the capitalization. One of the examples, Quinn used a project we just recently started construction on, the Vodka chemical project. That's about a $75 million project, and we're responsible for providing 100% of the capital for that project in a structured long-term lease for that organization. So a lot of different things that could be done, and we'd be excited to engage with you to figure out what makes the most sense for you.
I think you'll find that our board is very progressive and proactive. We work very well together as a board. Typically design by committee is a nightmare. And we'd be looking for you to be the forward thinker and the presenter to be able to keep us straight. We are not experts at it. You guys are, and we appreciate your expertise.
Yeah, thank you. And yeah, we'd be happy to provide you a bunch of different alternatives to get you thinking, and then we can go from there, and it can take us in a lot of different directions. But it's not unusual for us, not just to be providing capital with a project where there might be a private corporation, but hospitals, nonprofits, governmental entities, all of which have been customers of ours where we have provided one degree of financing or another for the project. So lots that can be done.
Okay, thank you. Howard, anything else?
Yes. Could you give us one or two examples, and I know you had it in just to refresh our minds about mixed use projects that you've been involved with?
Well, there's one, and we did not have the slide of this. Several years ago, I don't know how many of you remember the old Jacobson's men's store in downtown Birmingham. I purchased that store. It was another joint venture partner, but we built a mixed use project that included retail, office, and condominium residential. It was really the first, maybe the only Class A mixed use development, I believe, at the time in the city of Birmingham. It required extensive work with the Birmingham city officials because we had a municipal lot next door on a parking structure that we had to deal with, as well as access to parking under our building, but highly successful. And that's just one example of something that we've done.
I can give you another example. We developed a shopping center in Shelby Township at 26 Mile and Van Dyke that consisted of about just about 400,000 feet of retail and incorporated, in addition to that, and sort of into the project, integrated a medical office complex with McLaren Health System, as well as a banking center with Comerica Bank at the time. So that was just another sort of local example.
Jim?
We're finishing up that project in Wixom, which was, much of the land was owned by their DDA. We did build a commercial component to that right out on Pontiac Trail, just west or just east of Wixom Road, and then 120 single-family homes and another 200 townhouses. So, 3 or 4 different residential product types and a retail component. On Long Lake up in Orion Township, we did had a partner who did a Kroger center that integrated with our 137 single-family homes, 37 on the lake and then 100 off the lake. So the project down at Tiger Stadium is a first floor retail apartments at the corner of Michigan and Trumbull, and we're the townhouse component. The partner on the townhouses is the same person who developed the apartments and the retail. So, all 3 components in that project.
Okay, Anthony Noble, you had your hand up. Go. Speaker, your speaker.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes. Have you had any projects such as Royal Oak, who just did a similar project with their municipal building? Have you guys been part of anything structured like that, as Trustee Powell kind of asked earlier, where it's a community partnership, kind of involving a municipal building such as our public safety campus?
So now we have not been involved in a project where we have financed a municipal town hall or city hall, but we have been involved in financing other municipal projects, infrastructure projects, and other things like that, as well as what I would characterize as sort of institutional nonprofits, hospital systems, and those sorts of things. Educational facilities, Kalamazoo College, others like that as well.
Okay.
Anthony, they did the Springfield building, correct, guys?
That's correct. Although we didn't provide the financing in that particular instance.
Are you capable of providing that financing?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. It was great. It was a great presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Rick, we can wrap it up, I think.
Very good. Okay. Well, I think we kind of went on in a couple different directions there, but that was good. A lot of things came out, some good questions from the board members. I certainly appreciate everyone for being here tonight. I appreciate all my board members. I appreciate our presenters. And I certainly look forward to having some further conversation as we go through this process, of which is going to be a continuing learning process for us, and hopefully we'll have a symbiotic relationship somewhere along the line. That being said, at this moment in time, I will conclude this meeting this evening, and I will ask from one of my board members for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. Oh, I'm sorry, Howard.
Yes, Bruce, I just wanted to tell you, you'll hear from me on Monday of next week.
All right. Thank
Looking
you
forward
again,
to it.
everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
I have a motion. I have a motion from Trustee Smith to adjourn. Looking for support.
Rick, can I say one
Yes,
thing
Howard.
before you adjourn?
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm Jerry Adams, by the way. I work with Howard.
Sure.
There's a young lady I haven't seen in 32 years, Mary Carlock.
I know.
Used to work with her.
I'm not possibly that old, so
Yeah. I just wanted to say hi to her. Thank you.
Looking for my second.
nice to see you again.
Andrew, I will second that.
I have a second from Andrew Voorhees, trustee, excuse me, Mr. Noble, will you do a roll call vote?
Supervisor Kowal,
Yes.
Treasurer Roman,
Yes.
Clerk Noble, yes. Trustee Ruggles,
Yes.
Trustee Smith,
Yes.
Trustee Voorhees,
Yes.
Trustee Powell.
Yes.
That being said, motion carries. Good night, everyone. Thank you very
Good
much.
night. Thank you so much.
I know.
Thank you very much.